Boy, oh boy, our market's going crazy. What is going on, guys? Markets are going just bonkers, and they have been really since '08. So if you've been paying attention at all to what's going on, your currency being destroyed, your purchasing power going through the floor, here we are. We're at the end game, guys. We are at the end game. The 10-year Treasury, again, the benchmark. We talk about the trifecta. We talk about the three big drivers of the economy, the kind of indicators of what's going on and what's happening in the market, and then the three liquidity indicators. That's what gives you the signals, the gauges of the market and what's actually happening. And I shouldn't say the drivers necessarily of the market. In some ways, they are, like the debt market and what the price of cash is, things like that. But these are really the biggest signals in the market. So the U.S. 10-year is the benchmark yield of the world, where people are denominating their debts in, basically. And when you have a variable rate on your mortgage and it's constantly moving, you have to find more dollars and less dollars. This is happening all around the world. This is why the UK pound crashed last year and defaulted, basically, and they had to start printing and turning on the printers. Why Sri Lanka collapsed. This is why many of these emerging markets are collapsing and will happen even more. This is why the Fed in general is, look at this, these lower lows and lower highs over the last, 6, 7, or like 9 months. This is this fastest rate hiking cycle we've ever seen over this past year. Then they've had this real concerted effort of, hey, we got to get liquidity back into the market here because we're going to really break things. And this is where you've seen stuff like Treasury and the Fed really kind of offsetting what they're doing. They're talking out of one side of the mouth and doing something else over here. And this is the point. They're between a rock and a hard place. They can't do much of anything. They can flap their jaws. That's what fiat is. It's by decree. So the system we're in is fiat. It's fake. It's just a bunch of lip service. It's a con game, confidence game. And when it's not backed by anything, which was what we have, it's backed by zero. People say, oh, it's backed by energy and it's backed by the petrodollar, it's backed by the military. No, wrong. It's backed by you. It's backed by your confidence every day that you think you go to work every single day and people go and buy the bonds of America, from America, thinking, oh, these Americans are too stupid to even know what's going on. We're going to just bind them into slavery forever. We're bondage is bond. So when you are buying a bond, which many people have, their 401ks, pensions, whatever, people all around the world buy American bonds, the 10-year Treasury, etc., and the whole yield curve. They buy these bonds and you're buying your enslavement. Or if you're a foreigner, then hey, you're buying Americans' enslavement. You're guaranteeing they're going to get taxed in the future and their kids are going to get taxed and trapped in this world of being a brain slave. A great book that talks about this a ton. Bucky Fuller talks about it decades ago, The Friendly Genius. It's right here. And the warlords back in the day really kind of founded from them. And he talks about it, Kiyosaki does, in this book, where the warlords weren't particularly smart. They couldn't read and stuff like that. So they didn't want people rising up being smarter than them. So they gave them jobs. They said, hey, you go do this and you specialize in that. And when you go into this world of academia or the specialization and just focusing on one thing, you live your world through your job. You vote through your job. You're scared because you have no other skills. You can't do anything else. This is why we talk about constantly. The whole point of this channel is to question everything with boldness, but it's very far beyond that, the wide reaching. It's creating this foundation of gold, silver, Bitcoin, food, energy, water, skills, gardening, seeds, land, ammo, lead, firearms, right? All these things, because when you do that, it gives you the ability to step back, take a breath and say, hey, you know what? I'm okay if I don't have this job, this job, or whatever it is. I can sustain life for a while because I can live and be okay. I don't need the government. I don't need my job. I don't need an employer. I don't need some person telling me what to do and hating my life. This is where we've gotten away from the basics of human life over the last 100+ years. So really the Industrial Revolution, and the robber barons, General Education Board, Rockefeller said, hey, I want doers, not thinkers. And they've corralled us into these specializations, these brain slaves that are just told what to do and move around hey, this is where you need to look and how long you need to look at it, with media, academia, and the warlords at the top. This is what's happened. And this is kind of goes throughout human history, but it's really sped up in the last 100 years. With technology, we've also, and this is why people go home and they just sit home and I'm too tired to do anything. I'm just going to turn on the TV. So you have mass distraction, and all day long you're working in this specialization. So you can't see the forest from the trees. It's very hard to then see the forest from the trees because you're just so specialized and so locked in. Like, well, I'm just, working on the computer all day long, or hey, I'm just a doctor. I've got doctors in my family. We've got lawyers in our family. I'm just going to be a lawyer all day, and you think through your profession, and that's it. You vote through your profession, and you're like, whoa, I can't go against my profession. I can't go against myself. Instead of doing the right thing, many times we're doing things just to secure our job, hopefully, and hopefully have a paycheck coming in. That's why that is the money being evil. The root of all evil is the love of money, being addicted to the money, being a slave to the money. Money itself is nothing. It's just a container for your time and energy. It's nothing. It's just like a tool. It's a hammer. It's a car. It's a firearm. It's a knife. It doesn't matter. It's just a tool. We make it evil by the idolization of it, saying, "Oh, I can't do that. I can't. I have to go do this thing because I'd lose my job. Well, I have to do this because I'd lose this. I'd lose my job. Well, I can't do that because I'd lose my job." That right there is the very essence of the love of money, the love of the dollar, the love of fiat being the root of all evil. When you have a deflationary money and it's backwards from what we have now, when you have a deflationary world, I should say, and a neutral money, and you're able to capture deflation, and you're wealthier and wealthier when you save over time, and you need that job less and less, and all that starts to kind of erode from your lifestyle, then you can make choices based on your morals, based on your ethics, based on your principles, because you're not worried about the paycheck the next day. This is the conundrum. This is the broken monetary system we live in. This is the Titanic of the fiat legacy system, the banks, everything slipping under the waves. Very few people see it. Very few people see it. Just like Keynes said, if not one man in a million knows what inflation is, and if he did, there'd be riots in the morning. And Ford talked about it. If men knew the monetary system they had, there'd be revolution in the morning, right? There's a reason these guys talk about this, and I've talked about this. This is again not me saying this. I'm just kind of aggregating things together and putting it together. But we have the game is up. The game is up, and they're trying to suppress it by selling paper shorts on gold and silver, by trying to suppress the price so people can't see the signals. They're distorting all the signals. Interest rates moving around, distorting all the signals. So you can't tell. We're at 30,000 feet in a 737, and the gauge is all broke. This is why the average person can't get ahead, because they have no idea what's going on. So we had a violent spike up here in the last couple of weeks in the yields. So bonds are selling off. Now we have the opposite. Now someone's buying up the bonds and the yields are going back down. Well, who do you think that is? Who do you think is moving markets? It's central banks. It's the big players at the top, right? As we have DXY was spiking up as well, obviously, in the last couple of weeks. Now we have it reversing course, and the dollar weakening because they need it to be weaker. And we see this trend really over the last 9 months of lower highs and lower lows as well. Same thing you're seeing in oil. The third part of the trifecta, this lower lows and lower highs over the last year in consolidation. So it's going to break one way or another now. Now, which way does it go? Does it go up or down from here? This is the question. Now it's starting to consolidate. You can see this pattern. So this is why when you see these things, you have to look at these indicators. At 3.6 in the 10-year, when you get to 4, on the yield, it starts to get crazy. So you have to be very careful of where we're at and get prepared and build that foundational layer of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is why we talk about this all the time, because I want every person resilient and independent, because then you don't need government. And selfishly, the less we need government, the less rules, right? Less regulations, the higher standard of living, and the lower costs we have. That's why I selfishly want that, because I want that for me and my family. Therefore, I want that for you. The beauty of that is that it aligns incentives. I mean, that's great because what I want is going to benefit all people. That's what Bitcoin, we have a neutral money. People are starting to learn that. We have a neutral money that can't be confiscated, that no one can take from you. It's issued by the people, by code, and no one can mess with. That fixes and aligns all the incentives. So now we have something. We actually have something that Ford talked about, an energy money. I don't know if it was Mises or Hayek. I can't remember who talked about energy money, or Friedman. We've had many people, over the last 100 years talking about an energy money that will go around government and will take back the power for the people. And we have that now. It's a discovery that was always there, but we finally discovered it. Ironically, in 08, 09 when the system broke. So that's why this is so important. That is the entire issue is this. This is the indicators of what's going on, but why what the problem is, and why and how we have the solution. We have it. We have it. And people argue this till blue in the face. They don't like the system they're in, but then they argue and fight for this very system that they're in. They're on the Titanic, and then they're yelling and screaming at the people in the Bitcoin life raft floating away, like, good luck in the ocean in that little life raft, while they are slipping under the waves. And when you get on the Bitcoin life raft, when you're removed from the red versus blue and politics and left versus right, man versus woman, all the polarization, division, and hate, you can see clearly what is going on. You can see the whole risk board. You can see the ocean liner slipping under the waves. It's very clear. And it becomes very evident that you are much safer in the Bitcoin life raft, even though it's small and nascent right now. And eventually it'll grow into a big thing when everyone's using it. But right now it's tough to see. It's very hard for early adopters to talk to people about it. It's very hard for the average person to see what's going on because they have grown up in a system of life that has told them this is the right path the entire time. Every commercial, every Wall Street salesman, a financial planner, every teacher, everyone in their lives, their aunts and uncles, their parents, have all said the same thing. Go to school, get a good job, get good grades, or invest in a 401k and a pension. And it's the same thing over and over again. So stand on guard. Gold and silver, the economic liquidity, or I should say the liquidity indicators, gold dropping below 2,000 and silver dropping below 24. So liquidity was draining from the market the last couple of weeks, as we had seen, rates rising, and Bitcoin as well, down under 27,000. So these indicators, kind of showing us with different Fed, forward guidance and different meeting minutes coming out, different, again, they talk out of both sides of their mouth because it's a system built on decree and fiat and flapping of the gums. So I get to laugh at these things. Owning all these other assets, owning all these primary assets, I'm not a part of the system. I don't care what a 401k does. I don't care what paper does. I literally don't care, as I have so little of that and so many of the other things that I don't care. And because I will hedge what's going on, and or I will make massive gains in the coming years as this Ponzi collapses in on itself. So in saying that, because we can't understand what's going on with Bitcoin, or with the central banks, we don't know the money issuance, but we can with Bitcoin. We know exactly what the issuance is every 4 years, and every day, every 10 minutes, tick-tock, next block. And we don't know if banks will be up and running the next day. We don't know if our cash will still be there. We have no idea if our cash will be there, will be whole. And we know for sure the value of it's going to zero. Every year that goes by, it's going to be less and less and less. We know those things for sure. And we also know for sure that Bitcoin is running, and we can audit it. We run our own node. We can audit it. We can look at it. Look at here at the mempool. It's beautiful. It's running. We know the issuance. Complete opposite. Bitcoin couldn't be more opposite in every single way of the fiat monetary legacy system that is being destroyed and destroying the rest of our lives. So what is it going to be, folks? What is it going to be? I appreciate you coming to my TED Talk. Please share this out because the algorithm hates truth. I question everything with boldness, even the existence of God himself. This is not financial advice. It's freedom advice. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.